So I thought the Montreal Canadiens were going to come out guns blazing against the Ottawa Senators. I thought the Montreal Canadiens were going to take advantage of the fact that the Senators were at the tail end of a 7-game road trip. I thought that the fact that Cole Caulfield won the Molson Cup for November was going to egg this team on. Boy, was I wrong. Let's talk some puck. Hey gang, Costa here from PuckTalk Montreal for this December 2nd edition of the post-game show where we lick our wounds after the Ottawa Senators take their foot and put it up our proverbial ass by beating us by a score of 5-2. Now, why is that? Well, there's a lot of reasons. You take a look at some of the performances on the ice by individuals, but the group in and of itself played like hot garbage. Let's take a look at our game highlights. Starting with early in the game where it looked like maybe, just maybe, the Canadiens might take advantage of the Ottawa Senators. When opening the scoring was Yuri Slafkovsky at 3:37 of the first. A power play goal where Slafkovsky, again at the side of the net, gets fed by Caulfield, and he just puts it home past Allmark to make it 1-0 Montreal. Here's another look. Pop. It's in. It's Slafkovsky's 8th. It's 1-0 Montreal. Everything's great, right? Well, not for long, because just 24 seconds later, Fabian Zetterlund decides, yeah, you know what? I'm going to score on Sam Montembeault. And this is a shot that Montembeault needs to have. Now watch carefully as he never gets square to the shot. He's turned sideways. Why? If there's one thing that I keep talking about, you need to be square to the shooter. He's completely turned. How do you expect to cover net? But I'll get to that later. There's more. Right before the period ends at about 16:53, it's Artem Zub's turn to sneak in on everybody in the slot and put one home past Montembeault. Watch this as the puck comes out of the corner. Zub sneaks in. He's in front all alone, and he dekes the pants off Monty. Take a look. You want to see what a beached whale looks like? Watch this. I will talk to you about Monty's goaltending in a minute because I'm pulling off the gloves. I gave him flowers the other night. I'm not tonight. Then cue the second period where Jake Sanderson and Drake Batherson score a minute 10 apart to give Ottawa a 4-1 lead. Here is Sanderson's goal on a really poor effort at a poke check by Montembeault in tight, where he loses his stick and the puck goes in on the far side. How? Well, he's turned again. He's never square. His pad is in the net, and his other pad is outside the net. That made it 3-1. Then came Batherson's goal. Here, he just takes the puck right out of Monty's glove. Monty puts his glove down to cover it. Oh, let me take it from you. Thanks for the open net. That made it 4-1. Whoops. Yeah. So, there you have it, 4-1. Then, the Canadiens score late in the second period on the power play. Actually, I shouldn't say late. It was at about 8:50 of the second period to make it 4-2, giving the Canadiens a little bit of hope. He gets a return pass here from Cole Caulfield, and he just waits Allmark out and puts it in under his blocker to make it 4-2. Signs of life for the Canadiens, right? No, not really. Nothing happened after that point, with the exception of Brady Tkachuk getting his first of the season at 12:43 of the third, to make it 5-2 and put the final nail in the coffin for the Canadiens. Watch how open he is in the slot. Like, I'm sorry. What are all the defensemen doing behind the net? Seriously. Not just the defensemen, but why is Veleno chasing behind the net when both defensemen are below the goal line? Let's talk my favorite part of the show now, and that's game analysis. And let's start with the elephant in the room, the guy who played like horse's ass in this hockey game, and that is Sam Montembeault. For all the goodwill he had in the game versus the Vegas Golden Knights, where he pulled the Canadiens out of the fire in that game, tonight, garbage. Absolute garbage. He wasn't square to shooters. When he was trying to push off his own legs to try to get across, he was on his pads and the edges of his skates weren't even on the ice. He couldn't move. On the Zub goal, his skates were literally off the ice and his pads were touching. He couldn't push off. The same on the Sanderson goal. He couldn't push off. Why? Because his pads were down and his skates were up. There is a reason why I yell about the fact that I want Canadiens goaltenders to play a hybrid style like Carey Price used to play. Because you cannot push off when you're in the butterfly. When you're down on your knees, you're susceptible to everything. Even on the goal that was scored by Zetterlund, where Montembeault slides across on his pads again and turns completely sideways to the shot, which is coming from this direction. And he flails at it with his blocker. You are an NHL goaltender. You cannot not be square to a shot every time the puck goes in the net. I don't get it. I never will get it. You need to be better. I'm tired of the excuses. If the Canadiens don't do something about their goalie coach right now, I'm going to freak out. I swear. I'm going to lose my mind. There is no excuse for that kind of play from an NHL goaltender. None. Worst case scenario, send him down to the minors. Let him gain some confidence. Let him work with Marco Marciano instead of the dumbass we have up here in Montreal and Eric Raymond. Let's see if there's a difference. That'll give you an idea of what Eric Raymond is doing wrong. And there's a lot of it. A hell of a lot of it. It can't be that he plays so well in a game versus Vegas and then absolutely shits the bed versus the Ottawa Senators in a game that means more to the Canadiens than a game on a Thursday night out west against Vegas. Honestly. And this is before a back-to-back, and we're going to talk about the Winnipeg Jets in another episode, but holy cow, was this a poor goaltending performance. I've been hard on him before. This was horseshit. And if you're watching this episode of the show and you think I'm being too hard on him, I implore you, go take a look at the replay. On 4 out of the 5 goals, he's completely out of position. On one of the goals, he's too slow to cover the puck. I'm sorry, that's not an excuse for Batherson to come in and pull the puck out from under your glove. It's not. You have to be better. You have to be harder on your pads. You have to be faster at getting down on the puck and smothering it. You did that versus Vegas. You did it to perfection. What changed in 4 days that made you look this garbage? A lack of confidence? A lack of focus? Too many hot dogs in the press box? I don't know. But something's got to give here. The Canadiens, with all the injuries they have, they cannot afford have a goaltender that doesn't play well. The guys need help. Period. That being said, you can't play all the game, lay all the blame on Sam Montembeault and goaltending. Because holy hell, defensively, the Canadiens sucked. Why? Because there was too much of a focus on offense by some of the players that played defense, and mistakes were made. You take a look at Matheson. Noah Dobson was up the ice more than he was in his own zone tonight. I found that useless. The Canadiens were suffering, trying to get coverage in their own zone. The Senators were cycling the puck. They were physical. They took full advantage of the Canadiens, and the Canadiens had no response. And to boot, when you take certain examples that win in the net with Canadiens defensemen below the goal line or chasing players who have the puck, what purpose does that serve? None. Okay? There needs to be something done. Marty St. Louis in his post-game press conference said that he wasn't happy with the way they defended tonight. It's not all on the forwards. Yes, Veleno shit the bed on the Tkachuk goal because he chased behind the net and he left a slot open. Fine. That's one example on a play where I don't think anybody was expecting Tkachuk to be that wide open, but he was. Why? Because he had 3 players below the goal line. You cannot allow that to happen. I don't care what level of hockey you're playing in. You need to be better on the defensive side of things. If you're going to impose man-on-man defense on your players, then you cannot have men that are not being covered. It's 5-on-5. There's no excuse. All right? If there's a guy along the boards who needs support, somebody swings in there and gets it. That means he's not covering somebody. But it also means when he comes in to help out and provide support, that he's almost sure the Canadiens are getting possession of the puck. That did not happen. Guys came in too early. Lane Hudson was horrible defensively tonight. Horrible. on the ice, I think, for 3 out of the 5 goals. Let me just check very quickly. Lane Hudson, -3. There you go. 3 out of 5 goals. Hudson was horrible. Chasing players with the puck all night long. Stop. Okay? You can't keep chasing guys around like buzzards. All right? There has to be a structure to your 5-on-5. Okay? You cannot go left to right and not defend. So you change up your system a little bit and you play a hybrid man-to-man where you switch down low so that you have some kind of defensive coverage in front of your goaltender. The Canadiens were leaving the front of the net wide open. There was no physicality there, whether it was Zub, whether it was Batherson, whether it was Sanderson, you name it. All 3 of those goals scored in tight. Zetterlund and Tkachuk a little bit further back, but again, both guys wide open. There was no D coverage here tonight. So while I am being hard on Montembeault, I'm being just as hard on every player on the Montreal Canadiens because you cannot allow that kind of space to players that have the propensity to put the puck in the back of the net. Artem Zub, the defenseman, came in and stick-handled freely to beat Sam Montembeault. That in and of itself is a microcosm of the entire problem in the game tonight. So we know the Canadiens are playing another game tomorrow. You're going to need to look at this video. You can't just ignore this game because this is a prime example of absolutely garbage team defense. I mean, I don't know how much more I can say here. It's not a simple task to be able to beat a team like Ottawa. Ottawa and Montreal are very similar as far as their makeup is concerned, right? They've got guys that are physical. They've got guys that are fast. They've got guys that can move the puck. They've got guys that can skate. And they've got relatively equal goaltending, let's just say. And then comes the elephant in the room. The one thing that I don't agree with Marty St. Louis every game. And that is him saying that he's more worried about quality over quantity of shots. Well, tonight the Canadiens got what? 20? 21 shots on goal in 3 periods, right? How many of those shots were from high danger areas? Not very many. And that's what Marty St. Louis is hitching his hat on. The fact that the Canadiens are getting good quality, high danger chances. That's not what happened tonight. A lot of their shots were from the outside, perimeter shots that were easily stopped by Ullmark. So if you're not going to be able to get into those high prime scoring areas, then the next best thing that a team has to do is start peppering goaltenders. Right? Plan A doesn't work. You got to have a plan B. There was no plan B offensively tonight. The Canadiens were as flat as could come. They looked like they had no energy. They were skating in quicksand the entire night. From first to last line, everybody looked slow. There was no speed whatsoever on this team. Whether you want to chalk that up to the fact that they were out west, they had an extra day to recover. Their last game was on Saturday afternoon. They were home Sunday. They were home Monday. And playing Tuesday. They had 2 full days to recover. That excuse goes out the fucking window. So what else is there? Nothing. The Canadiens needed to have more energy. They needed to be better. If they would have come out with strong energy tonight and played like lethargic against the Jets, I wouldn't mind as much. Why? Because the Canadiens needed to win this game versus Ottawa to maintain their standing in the division. That's gone. Now the Ottawa Senators sitting third, and the Canadiens are lower in the division. They're in 4th place. They still have a game in hand. That game in hand is tomorrow. How's that going to turn out? As I mentioned, another episode of the show, I'll talk about the preview. But holy hell, man, if there was anything that went right for the Canadiens tonight, I certainly didn't see it. I don't know if you did. If you did, put it in the comments. But to me, from A to Z, everybody played like garbage and nobody showed up. Nobody. Not the players, not the goalies, not the coaches. 0. And there's no excuse for that. None. Whew, I got to catch my breath. So what's next for the Canadiens? Well, as I mentioned, they face Winnipeg in less than 24 hours. They better go home and lick their wounds, and Marty St. Louis better see whether or not there's something in his crystal ball that he's going to be able to do to win versus Winnipeg. Because if they don't, the Canadiens, another 3-game losing streak, and more questions to be asked about the depth of this hockey club. I know they've got a lot of injuries. I know they're missing a lot of key players. That still doesn't make it easier for anything. And when you look at this team, there's a couple of things that I got to ask. I know all of you love Florian Xhekaj. I like the kid too. Don't get me wrong. He's not ready. Alexander Texier, I'm still trying to figure out why the hell the Canadiens went out to get him. Because he skates like he's got cement in his boots. He hasn't done anything other than get one assist on a Jake Evans goal that, okay, it was a nice pass, but other than that, he does not defend well. He does not skate well. He does not distribute the puck well. So what the hell did you go out to get him for? Because you needed a body? You've got plenty of kids down in the minors that are licking their chops to come up here. I bet you could get a better effort out of a guy like Owen Beck from the Rocket than you would out of Alexander Texier. Honestly. It's mind-blowing. There's a reason why the St. Louis Blues did not want him anymore. It's not just because he wasn't getting ice time. Sure, they mutually agreed to part ways. But part of that reason is because the Blues just couldn't find a way to use him, and he didn't want to go to the American Hockey League. Where, buddy, if you're going to bet on yourself like that, and you're going to say, no, I want to stay in the NHL, so buy me out, you better start doing something. Because it's 3 games now, and you haven't impressed me much, to quote Shania Twain. There's got to be more to it. We know the kid can stick handle in a phone booth. We've seen none of that. Instead, he's dumping the puck into the zone. If you're going to be a skilled player, be a skilled player. Skate into the zone with a little bit of conviction and speed and stick handle. Try to create something. Force the other team to make a mistake in coverage. Open up some space for a line mate. Do something, but not nothing. I can't. There's no excuse for me here. I don't get it, right? And Florian, love you, but go back to Laval because we need a little bit more than what you're bringing to the table. I know you're only playing 4th line minutes. You're not playing much, and your legs are like you're carrying sandbags around. I get it, but that space we need to have everybody on board here. You can't take a break. You can't just go through the motions. There's got to be more to it. Well, even with limited ice time, you need to be better. And for heaven's sake, there needs to be a point in time where the Canadiens turn around and start working on faceoffs again because their faceoff percentage is putrid. Again, 47.1% tonight. That means you're not starting with possession of the puck. When you're not starting with possession of your puck, especially in your own zone, you're playing on the wrong side of the game. You need to have the puck on your stick to generate stuff. But you don't. Instead, because of the way they played tonight, because of the lack of energy, they were getting across the blue line, dumping the puck in. There's a reason why the power play looks so good, because they kept the puck in possession. They moved the puck around, they scored. There are ways to do that at 5-on-5. It takes some intelligence and some originality, but nobody did that. Instead, they skated around the perimeter of the puck. It's all Ottawa wanted. Keep the Canadiens outside the dots at all times. Once you do that, they're done. Kept them outside the dots. Ottawa controlled the neutral zone, not Montreal. And so Montreal had no aspect of their game that worked. If they can't generate speed from the neutral zone, they're done and buried. Ottawa limited that. It was almost the perfect game from the Senators, other than the fact that they gave up a couple of goals. So the Canadiens just absolutely need to be better. Stay tuned tomorrow morning as I come back and I preview the Winnipeg Jets game versus the Canadiens tomorrow night. Have a good night, everybody. We'll talk tomorrow.